Hello, and welcome to another session of EdTech Tools for Sandbox Office Hours. I'm your host, Kenneth Kim, with the AES EdTech Team, and today we're going to be talking about an app that I happen to be a huge fan of, and that is Trello. Before we get started, here are the objectives for this session. First, identify potential applications for Trello. Second, identify the different major features of Trello. And third, navigate a demonstration board to showcase the live features available. But before getting into Trello, I want to take a moment to think about how large-scale projects are organized. If you've ever had the opportunity to collaborate on a project with a colleague, there's a decent chance that a lot of post-it notes were involved. In the process of organizing what needs to be where, who is in charge of what, a wall of post-it notes is invaluable. I also think many of us have been in a PD with a group of colleagues and then handed a stack of post-it notes to put down our thoughts and ideas. Personally, I basically lived and breathed post-it notes. This is a fairly accurate depiction of how often I use them. In pre-pandemic, or the before times, I had a whiteboard filled with post-it notes that covered all of the different tasks I needed to do. I effectively had a giant grid of things that I needed to do, things I was working on, and things that were done. Imagine this, but with significantly more post-its. And that system worked fantastically for me. Until it didn't. Shortly after the pandemic started, I noticed a significant drop in my productivity levels. While working from home has suited me well, I just don't have the space to have rows and rows of post-its like I did in an office setting. I needed a way to make the massive number of tasks piling up out of my head and into a format I could very easily work with. Ideally, something that mimicked the post-it note's ability to easily move a task from pending to doing to done without really having to rewrite something over and over again. Google Docs just really wasn't doing it for me. Enter Trello. So first, what is Trello? Trello is a card-based organization app, the closest thing to a wall of post-it notes. But the best part is that it takes the greatest things about post-it notes and provides some serious upgrades. But what are some possible applications? I'm glad you asked. Let's take a look. First up is the student's perspective. We'll take a look at this and the following two boards in more detail later. Here, we have a task board available for a group of students to collaboratively work on a project. At a glance, it's fairly straightforward. We have the to-do list, in progress, and finish with lists of tasks. Next is Trello being used as a student's personal organizer, where they can keep track of classwork, their kid's schedule, a grocery list, and their work schedule. And last is an instructor's perspective. This one has been jazzed up a bit to showcase many of the bells and whistles that Trello provides for free. As previously stated, we'll go into more detail on these a bit later. So let's talk about the different features. First, movable cards. The real most important feature here for me is that ability to mimic a post-it note. On the GIF on the right, we can see this being showcased. Not only can you move cards, you can move lists themselves as well. Here we'll move inbox over, and today back, here we go. And those lists and cards are completely customizable. You can call them whatever you want. Let's call this inbox, or you can put it back and say task list. Also, the cards themselves have amazing customization options. Here, I'm going to rename this to just EdTech here. One of those custom options is the ability to set due dates. Here we see everything on my to-do list has a gray upcoming date, while things in the doing list are either marked done or in green, due soon yellow, or overdue in red. Helpful reminders to know how to prioritize tasks. And actually in my inbox, you can see that we've got one task that is overdue. This next feature is one of my favorites, and that is the checklist. In the before times, to pull off checklists, I'd either have them written down somewhere or a stack of smaller post-it notes on a bigger note. Each card allows you to add multiple checklists, making project management much easier. So what about all those stacks of different colored post-its? I had a lovely system where purple was administrative, blue was projects, red was for course development, etc. But on occasion, I got a bit frustrated when a task fell into two categories. What if I needed to do some administrative work relating to the course? Should it be a purple post-it for administrative or a red post-it for course development? Enter the label system for Trello. Here, I have several labels for any given task. I can also choose to either show the different labels or to simply have everything color-coded for simplicity. Another marked improvement from traditional post-it notes. All right, there are two more major features left, and this is a good one: attachments. In any given Trello card, you can attach a file from your computer, another Trello box, Google Drive, Dropbox, Box, OneDrive, or you can just add a link to like a news article or PDF or something similar. So once again, here's all the different options you can add an attachment from. You also have the ability to upload an image from your computer. And pro tip, if it's an animated GIF, then it'll be animated in the cover. It even shows up animated on the actual card list view. That's a little fancy feature I appreciate. And finally, there's the most important feature: collaboration. In the past, collaboration often meant gathering around a large board filled with post-it notes. As we move into the new normal, virtual collaboration is quickly becoming the norm. Trello allows multiple participants to work on a single board, working together and keeping everyone synchronized on the fly. As soon as one person finishes something, the card is immediately updated for everyone else. Let's take a look at how some people across the web use the collaboration feature.
The thing I like most about Trello is the collaboration aspect. When you're working on a project, it's very easy to collaborate with others and set tasks for each member. And it's also possible to integrate Trello into Slack, so that makes communication even easier.
If you use Trello on a big interactive display like this, you can all stand around your board and discuss your board together, or on an interactive table like this. For example, you could organize a brainstorm meeting to collect ideas. Before the meeting, everybody can already add ideas to the board, and then during the meeting you can discuss your ideas, add stickers to the cards and assign persons to a card to take action on the idea. And this is how you can collaborate using Trello.
My advice for collaboration is make it visual. People remember visual cues, and the card-based format in Trello really helps people remember what to do, as well as the reminders and the alerts, but the visual layout is key.
So that wraps up our basic features. Now at this point, I want to move into a live demo with you and showcase 3 very different ways Trello can be used in the classroom. Specifically, those 3 boards we saw at the beginning of this session: student project board, personal organizer for students, and a personal organizer for an instructor. All right, to begin, we first need to make an account with Trello. And so if you've never made an account with Trello, it's very straightforward. You go to Trello.com and then you put your email in. That's it. All the features that I'm going to show you right now are all free, 100%. You can use them. I use the free account all the time. And I do encourage you to give it a test run because it's very low stakes. If you want to upgrade your account, you of course are able to do that, and there's some special features in there. But personally, for what I'm going to show you and the uses I'm going to show you it for, I've never had any need to upgrade any of the features. So here we would normally sign up and create an account. I've already created an account though, so I'm going to go ahead and log in. All right, we have logged in, and so here is our opening dashboard. And it's a pretty straightforward setup here. We have up at the top our main kind of navigation panel. To the left here we have this is just more actions. I almost never use that. Next to that though, we have our little home icon, and that will return you to this page. This is your home dashboard page. I use that quite frequently. We have the boards. If you want to see what boards you're currently a part of, or you need to navigate from one board to another, easy to do with this boards button. And of course you can jump and search for a specific card if you need a card that you just say, oh, I remember that I need to do this project or that project. You can search it here and it'll pull up the card for you. You can click that card and it'll be taken straight to it. Let me see, if I type in just project here, we can see we have student project board, and then we have the cards that have the word project in them. Off to the right, we have this little plus sign. This is super useful for one reason, that is creation. So here we can create a brand new board. which is just blank, no special anything. Or you can start with a template. And the templates are actually really nice to work with. I encourage you to take a peek at them. I'll show you real quick what some of them look like. Here we have some templates: one-on-one meeting, agile, board, company overview, design huddle, etc. I'm a huge fan of the Kanban template, so I'll click that here. I'm just going to call it the Kanban template. Workspace, which I'll talk about in a second here. I'm going to make my personal one here. And go ahead and create it. Let me see here. And here we go, done. I've got a fully created setup. We've got our nice board setup. We've got backlog, design, to do, doing, code review. This is clearly for coders, programmers, but you can adapt it to be whatever workflow you need it to be. And so here my board is set up and I can immediately start customizing and using it. But let's head back here. Information is just exactly that. Just if you're new and you want more information than this video is providing, I encourage you to just click that information panel, and there's tons and tons of guides and useful information. Notifications is particularly interesting. So here, if you're working by yourself, then you're not going to use this very much. But if you're working with a team or other colleagues who are also using Trello, whenever they modify a card or move a card, you can set it up so that you get a notification here. And if you have the app installed on your phone, you can also get notifications there. Personally, during the pandemic, it was quite difficult to have my little ones track what they're working on, what they're supposed to be doing, as well as I'm also doing everything else I need to do, either for work or otherwise. And so in those situations, I actually taught my kiddo to use Trello. And so she has her own little board with a to-do list and her task list. And as she finishes a task, she moves it from doing to done, and I get a notification saying here she's completed her reading for the day, or her math assignment for the day. And then next to that, finally, we have here your account. Here is where you set up things like you can add another account, you can sign out, activity cards, etc. I don't usually go here for very much except to log out. Now here we have our primary dash, okay? The templates here, if we don't want to have those, you can just push the X and then it'll look like this. If you have a lot of different boards you're working with, let's suppose you have a different board for different classes, or you have several projects you're working on all at the same time, you might have multiple boards. And so in that scenario, having this recently viewed is very helpful, where it shows you what you've recently viewed. Under that is workspaces. Now this is a relatively new feature for Trello. And the way it works is basically the idea is you have a workspace, and this is kind of a collaborative space. You can think of it as almost a shared folder. And so if I have this is the AES EdTech Team workspace. If I create a board here on my work Trello, this is just the test account, but on my work Trello, a board will show up there as well. Here's my second workspace, test users workspace. So this is just a test user I have set up. And so the test user here, this is their workspace, and it's private basically. Unless I invite somebody to this board, to this workspace, only I can see these boards. And so it provides a level of privacy, and it also provides a ability to differentiate between different groups of people. And so let's suppose, for example, you're an instructor and you work in the K-12, and then you work also part-time at one of our programs. In that scenario, perhaps you would have two workspaces. If you're collaborating with your K-12 colleagues, you might have the K-12 workspace, and then you might have the adult education workspace separate. And so you can keep the board separate and the people that collaborate with you in two separate groups. Beyond that, we can just click any one of these. These are each boards. And let's go and start with the student project board sample here. So this is the board we showed you earlier. And as previously mentioned, it's very customizable. I can change these lists. So each one of these columns is called a list. I can change them to be anything I want. And so I can have this be inbox. I can have in progress, finish. I can have another list. Maybe I'll say something like skipped, or any number of other options available. I can then drag the cards as needed. If I need to keep track of things, I move them around. Beyond that, we also have a KK here and a TU. That stands for Kenneth Kim, that's me, and also test user, which also happens to be me. But I'm demonstrating this to showcase how easy it is to assign a card or a task to an individual in a collaborative setting. And so if you have several students all with Trello accounts and they're all on the same project board, they can assign tasks to one another. And so let's say we're coming over here and making the presentation slides. I've volunteered to do that. I can go right here, add to card, a member. And then I can just, let's add Kenneth Kim here and say, okay, Kenneth Kim is in charge of making these presentation slides. And then practicing the presentation, that's for everybody. And so I'll tag that here and we'll add test user and Kenneth Kim to that card. And so now at a quick glance, we can see immediately what cards are assigned to who. So really useful for groups of students when they're kind of figuring things out, working on stuff. As an instructor, you can be a part of this board as well, and then you have an idea of what's happening, if you can offer assistance as needed. For example, you might provide a checklist for a project, and so you would start the board, you'd invite students to that board, and then you would have a project checklist of here are things that need to happen for this project. As you go through and complete things, go ahead and check them off. And so the drawings are done. Check that off. We've completed the information text. That gets checked off. But we still need to do these things. And so students can then quickly check here to see where they're at on that progress list. And one nice bonus here I love is this percentage right here. And so we get this, we are 71% complete with this project. And it is just nice to have that roadmap and that sense of progress occurring. So that's a student example of how you might utilize this with a group of students in your class when working on a project. Obviously, this can be expanded tremendously, especially with the advent of attachments. You can attach assignments. You can have groups of students. You can have an entire class attached to a board. And in a way, this could operate almost like a small LMS if you really needed it to, just on a small scale for an individual class. Let's take a look at some of our other boards here. Let's say we have a student that is wanting to use Trello just independently. And this is something that I use in my personal life quite frequently. It doesn't quite have the same lists here, but I do keep track of things that I need to do around the home, grocery listings, purchases, other tasks that need to happen throughout the day in my personal time. And so in that same regard, here we have an example of a student where they've set up, here's their classwork. They need to work on that project with another classmate of theirs named Jesse. They need to read some chapters. They need to make an infographic. They have their schedule for their kiddos. They've got a grocery list, and they've got a work schedule that they need to work as well. And so here is a great way, especially if a student uses a phone a lot, a smartphone. There is a smartphone application for Trello on both iOS and Android. And I use it and it's fantastic and great. And it's real easy to move the cards and add and update things. And in some cases, for example, when I'm adding things to the grocery list, it's pretty straightforward to just take a picture of something and just tack that on. And then for me, my grocery list might have just a whole bunch of rows of pictures. And since I'm a visual person, that's real easy for me to remember, oh, I need to go buy rice or beans or ground beef or whatever else I'm missing. And so moving on here, let's take a look real quick at the teacher's board. And so if you're an instructor, you might also want to utilize Trello for your benefit as an organizer for your tasks. And so here I have it set up in just that situation. Here we have an instructor where they have an inbox, tasks that they're going to work on today, things that they're waiting on, and things that are done. And so in this scenario here, first off, quizzes needs to be capitalized, and that is, as you can see, incredibly easy to do. And so when you're operating with this and modifying things, it's really just point and click. And so if I want to change this and I want to get rid of this capitalization of sequence, I can just click the card and again just change it. And then it automatically saves. You're good to go. If you want to add a description, you certainly can. Description uses something called Markdown. And so if you want to like have a header, example here, I might do that. I hit save and then you can see it sets that up there. So if you're familiar with Markdown, this is great for you. If not, that's fine. You don't have to use Markdown. If you want to learn about Markdown, you can actually click this, go to Formatting Help, and it will give you plenty of information about Markdown. And you can actually click here to find additional information on Markdown. Personally, I love Markdown and I do highly recommend it, but that's for another time. In addition, here we can see that we have the ability to track activity. And so in this situation, we have test user, which is this account, has left a comment saying that they're waiting on approval from administration to go ahead and modify this scope and sequence. And so maybe approval has come through, we're done, okay? Might make a note saying approval complete. Approval is complete, hit save, and then that is good to go. I can move this card to done. In addition to that, we can also add some other things. Of course, we have the attachments, as I mentioned before. We can do dates, checklists, labels, and of course we can add other members. This power-ups ability here, this is what I was talking about with the more advanced features. You as a free user can use about one power-up, and that's really it. And power-ups are quite interesting. They have a lot of different options. These are often third-party things, and so you'll have to agree to other third-party like privacy policies and things like that. But as long as you're comfortable with that, you can add all sorts of really interesting mechanics here. You can have bulk edits. You can have automation occurring. You can have syncing with Google. You can sync to Teams. There's a whole bunch you can do with this. I encourage you to take a look at it. Personally, I don't utilize many of the power-ups very often, except for maybe if I want a recurring card, I might utilize a power-up. But I've never really felt a need to actually use a power-up. So let's go ahead and wrap it up here. So that concludes our demo. There's not really much else to demonstrate except to encourage you to go and use it because it's fantastic. I love so much about Trello. And if you want additional examples, again, we come to that home section, hit the plus sign, and start with a template. Or we can come over here to the left, it says boards, and then under that, templates. And as you can see here, there are just dozens and dozens of templates that are available that are from users. Whether you've got a small business on the side or you do something with design stuff, if you're in education, which if you're watching this, you probably are, we can find more information on that, and you can see how many different boards are available for you. So learn a language, research, etc. So I encourage you to take a look at these because frankly, they're amazing, they're fantastic. So now what if you need help? Let's say you log into Trello, you make your account, and then you're just like, ugh, this is a lot, and I'm not quite sure what to do, and I don't have time to figure it out right now, and it's a lot. In that case, I encourage you to come get some help. Come join us for Sandbox Office Hours. And Sandbox Office Hours are called that because it's literally designed to be open and available. While Trello is the focus this week, this Friday and the next week when we have Sandbox Office Hours available and open, I encourage you to drop by and I can help you with Trello. I can get you set up. We can work together. Or if there's any other EdTech tool that you need assistance with, I am happy to help you with that as well. If you need assistance setting up a Padlet, or if you're struggling with Google Drive, or you want to learn how to use Google Sheets or Excel better, or if you need to figure out how to use the styles available in Microsoft Word or the research functions, or comments and grading and that sort of thing, please drop by. I've set time aside specifically to help those of you in the field that might need just a little of extra assistance for the EdTech tools. Or if you don't want to spend a lot of time with me, that's fine too. If you just have a quick question, you're welcome to swing by. If you check the EdTech Hub, that's where you'll find our calendar with information on when these Sandbox Office Hours occur. But generally speaking, we do have them 4 times a week now. So we have them on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, both morning, afternoons, and midday. So go ahead and give us a check or a chat. Shoot us an email if you have any questions, and I look forward to seeing you.